Well, greetings. Hey, wanted to do a quick video in regards to the topic of treatment versus non-treatment. Really important topic that comes up from time to time. And what kind of got me brought in, or what brought the topic back up to me or to the forefront of my mind was I was at a local bee meeting, and they were discussing this book, which is a great book. I recommend reading it. Thomas Seeley's The Lives of Bees came out last year. And kind of to summarize the book, even though there's a lot there, a lot of great information, but to summarize it, Thomas Seeley is asking what would it look like. I mean, he looks at the wild honeybees living in trees in, I believe, the Utica area of New York. Anyways, it's in New York State. And he's seen that these number of wild feral colonies are maintaining a steady number in spite of viral issues, in spite of mites. And so his question is, what would it look like? You know, have we as beekeepers, especially commercial beekeepers on large scales, have we actually hindered the progress of genetics that are naturally tolerant and resilient to mites and the viral issues? So somebody at the bee meeting set me up, and they told me they were going to about 30 seconds beforehand, and said in front of everybody, Kevin, what's your thought as a commercial beekeeper on this? And oftentimes commercial beekeepers can be demonized from people approaching beekeeping from a more holistic, treatment-free approach. But here's the two questions that came to my mind on this discussion, and the one question that I arose at the meeting is this. The greater philosophical question that's being asked is human intervention more detrimental or beneficial in this scenario? And I told him you can't just isolate that to bees. You need to ask that about medicine. How disruptive was penicillin to the natural progression of bacterial infections being able to be built up, or that human, how disruptive was that to human beings being able to develop natural tolerances? Have we, through the advent of modern medicine, are we helping weaker genetics go forward? And so, I mean, anyways, that's a kind of the discussion that I feel has to be answered first. Secondly, the thing that I find very interesting is that you have Thomas Seeley talking about going and gassing hives with cyanide to be able to study them, and having to be disruptive to feral honeybee colonies to study them. And yet, it seems like his means are justified because of the end result, that he wants what's best for honeybees and find out what's best for honeybees. I see him doing the same thing that we do in commercial beekeeping, which is that we may be disruptive to honeybees from time to time, but our whole point is, first of all, to manage our bees well so that they can be profitable to us. The reason that I see Thomas Seeley doing research, I mean, I might be wrong, but the reason that he's a professor, the reason that he's doing this research, is because he's also supporting his family in some amount monetarily from the research and from the sale of his books and whatever, which rightly so, he's done the work. So I don't understand why his means can be justified because of his end, and yet our means as commercial beekeepers being, disruption sometimes to honeybee colonies, to actively manage them, to make sure that they're healthy in order that we can support our families and also provide future generations with supplies of bees, honey, etc., etc. I don't see how that's different, other than one person believing that their point is morally superior, and so thus their end is justifies the means. So anyways, a few things that came up. Also too, in this reading of this book here, another thought, great book, Bees in America, How the Honeybees Shaped a Nation. Another point that comes up into my mind is that you have historical references of bees being managed intimately with humans back in Egyptian times in 4500, 5000 BC. So this whole idea of letting bees be natural, or not wanting to invade their colonies, wanting to take a holistic approach, you have to go back thousands and thousands and thousands of years, actually beyond recorded history, to find what that natural looks like. Because honeybees and humans, as far as we have recorded history back to Egyptian times, have always been intimately interlocked with each other. The advent of the Langstroth hive was actually an answer in trying to be more hospitable, more what's the term, caring, better, showing better animal husbandry to the bees by creating a colony structure that could easily be managed, could easily be observed. Because before that, once again going back into Egyptian times, bees were oftentimes kept in clay vessels, and so the colony had to be destroyed in order for it to be either the honey harvested or for it to be checked for diseases, etc., etc. So personally, I see that human intervention has brought improvement. Now, has it brought detriment? Certainly, because we're not finite, infinite in our understanding, our wisdom of what our actions today will have consequentially tomorrow. But the idea is are we still trying to be better? Are we trying to learn from our mistakes? And I think the overall answer to that is yes. So anyways, that was something I wanted to just discuss briefly, because that is a topic of interest that a lot of people bring up. And I think that it's a topic that we should continue to revisit and ask ourselves, what are we doing? What can we do better to help manage honeybees properly and in a way that's beneficial to them and to us? Anyways, thanks.